Welcome back to Skijoring Central, the global media hub of everything Skijoring. Today I thought we'd talk about making tracks. Now you can interpret that phrase a few ways. We're certainly making tracks when it comes to expanding the sport. Only a decade ago, there were about 10 to 12 races. And now, in 2027, we're anticipating having almost 70 events across the United States, Canada, and globally. We're also increasing our attendance. Hundreds of thousands of people have spectated races in 2026. We have millions of people liking and following our social medias, and we have billions of people viewing us on social media and on live streams. But how about building tracks, and what kind of tracks are there out there? They certainly differ, and that has an impact on the future of the sport. So a track actually is determined by several factors: the venue, the surface, the snow, and the divisions. Leadville was last weekend, and as we discussed in our prior podcast, it is a straight track. The majority of skijoring races are now held on straight tracks, in part because it's very safe for the horses, and also because the venues that are expanding are calling for straight tracks. There are only a few tracks that can run horses side by side. One is in Canterbury Park, Minnesota, and another one is in Cold Lake, Alberta, Canada. Some tracks have a bit of a jog in them, like Estes Park. Another track you could say has a gentle curve would be San Juan in Ridgway, Colorado, or Boulder, Montana. There are a few tracks that remain J-shaped, such as Red Lodge, which is coming up this coming weekend. It used to be that the majority of the events in Montana had U or J-shaped tracks, and the majority of the races in Colorado had straight tracks. And back when that series called NASJA was happening, that was a challenge because the same teams were having to race on two completely different tracks and prove themselves in different ways. Leadville had the high jumps and the rings, and Red Lodge had the J-shaped track where the skier was actually being pulled at greater G-forces than even on the straight track. So we thought we would touch on that a bit today and explain the differences and just say that, it's going to impact the future of the sport because none of our tracks are in common. The lengths sometimes have to differ based on the venue. The shape of the track has to differ based also on the venue. The amount of snow that's available determines whether or not the horses can run actually on snow or might have to run on dirt if there's only enough snow to make a skier track, which pushes the horse off to one side. So that's just a completely different factor that we've been having to take into consideration recently with the climate that's changing. I just wanted to point out my shirt, Got Rings, from Leadville. I'm very fond of this. And I have plenty of memorabilia from other races as well that I'll be bringing out in future podcasts. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll continue this in a part 2. We're going to talk about making tracks, but from the skier's point of view.